much. Jeff, your turn.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeff. I do agree with Stacey that probably one of the most important things is getting students interested in the local affairs portfolio, and you have to be really active in doing so. I'm not sure the best way is to tell them to come up to the second floor. I think we sort of need to break that barrier between the second floor of the University Center and the rest of campus. It could be holding office hours in different places. It could be going around and talking to students, talking to student groups, things like that. And that's the way we're going to get students actively involved. You know, let's face it, students don't always read their emails, the mass mail that's sent out. Students don't always look at a poster if you're passing it by and you're in a rush. So the best way to do things like that is to make actual contact with another person physically. Not in a weird way, but sorry. Make personal contact with other students. So I think that's one of the biggest issues with the local affairs portfolio. And then the other thing, of course, is transit. We've talked a lot about transit already. I've heard a lot of people being missed at bus stops, but I think what a lot of people don't know is that the local affairs commissioner is the person that will bring those issues to city council in groups. So it's not enough to have one or two people say, I missed the bus. We need lots of people saying, you know, I miss the bus every day. There's 5 other people with me. We need to be able to collect that info. I think the current local affairs commissioner has done an excellent job of organizing a survey of where students live, and that's a really good way to start. But there's also other ways that we need to look at in getting students to actively say, look, I missed the bus for the last 2 days, and we need to figure this out. Thank you very much.
Okay, so this is the first quote. Second question is for Anastasia first. The CSA food bank has seen a steady increase in demand in its service. There's been talk even about closing the food bank early due to financial reasons. What can you bring to the table to ensure that students will continue to have access to this essential service?
Well, I think it's important to obviously direct more funding to the food bank, period. But that's not the only thing that we need to do, because the reason why students are hungry is because the cost of going to school and the cost of living is rising. And so they're left in this place where they have to either pay their tuition, their rent, or for their groceries. So yes, we need more funding to the food bank, but we also need to take on that battle with tuition fees. And I think we need to ask for the support of the administration on this. I think if we had Alistair with us, you know, going to drop fees rallies, I think if we had the administration really sort of, if we had a united campus where we could say, this isn't working for us, $3,000 a semester, you know, more than that with textbooks, let alone rent, cost of living, being able to go out once in a while. It's too much. And I think if we drop fees, if we make that effort, if we make that investment as activists, as students, as empowered people, then we'll have less people using the food bank. So we got to bring those numbers down, and we also have to ensure that the food bank is adequately funded. And that means, and not only adequate funding, but getting the right kind of food there. So taking shares in the local harvest from local food producers. That's going to be cheap food, and it's going to be nutritious, local, organic food. And I think that also is a very important aspect.
Thank you. Jeff, you have 2 minutes. Same question.
Thank you, Jeff. Food for more students, but the thing is the numbers are just increasing and people want more food. I agree that tuition needs to be dropped, but it's not something that's going to happen next year, it looks like. So we really need to focus on ways to get more food at the food bank. And really, if we could, not take money out of other budget items, which reduces things like workshops and activism and awareness campaigns and things like that. I think a really good way to start would be encouraging collaboration between the meal exchange office and the food bank. maybe having the exchange do collections or something like that for the food bank, and really collaboration on campus, getting other organizations to help out with that. There may be more money coming into the food bank from a referendum question, but that's not something that we can necessarily count on, although things like that are very important. And also increase ways of saving money on food. Like Stacey said, buying directly from farmers or from cooperatives. We've seen a move to doing that, from buying food in that way instead of just taking a taxi to No Frills. So we have been working very hard on that, and it's been helping quite tremendously. But we do need to think of new solutions to the problem. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Galen, same question in 2 minutes.
I think the interesting thing is we all know that right now the economic times are not good, and they're not looking like they're going to get better anytime soon, and that's kind of a fact that we have to deal with. Right now the CSA Food Bank has almost 500 registered users, and that number has gone up dramatically this year and will continue to grow up as the economic times continue to get hard. I think it's important to make an effort to reduce fees and try to save money where we can, but the reality is this is a service that will continue to increase in demand. And I think that the most important thing, funding is the most important thing, also providing other support. So, like Jeff mentioned, there's a graduate referendum question right now where they're trying to provide more funding that way. So if that doesn't go through, I think it's really important to look to the community, look around the city of Guelph, look at different ways, try to be creative to find viable solutions, look to wholesalers, look to grocers to find those things where there's a lot of food that gets thrown out because it's not saleable, but it is possible to use other ways to get into the food bank. Also, I think that it's important to continue to look for that funding. So throughout the fall, I will be working really hard to find other creative means of finding funding from the community or from the sponsor or whatever, and then really, really pushing this time next year at election to get a referendum passed so that they can have the funding that they need so that they aren't going way over budget and this essential service is being well provided for. Thank you.
Third question, we'll start with Anastasia. No, yeah, Jeff. Sorry. So Jeff, transit fees are on the rise across the city. How do you plan to protect the affordability of the universal student bus pass while ensuring that student transportation needs are being met in a growing city?
Thanks, Jeff. I think it is really important to know that the bus pass fee will be rising. Students need to get engaged with that and know that yes, the bus pass will be going up, and probably likely again in the fall it will go up as far as my understanding is. So I think we first need to look at one thing, and it's make sure that, as the current local affairs commissioner has said, that students aren't bailing the city out for their cost to run the 20-minute bus service. I do agree that the 20 minutes has been incredibly valuable. I take the bus to school every day when it's not warm enough to ride out. And 20-minute service has made it much easier for me to ride the bus. So I don't mind paying for extra service like that, but I think we need to make sure that we're not being overcharged for services like that. I think there are other initiatives that I have heard coming from Guelph Transit, things like adding bike racks to buses. If that's something that students are really into, I think we definitely need to encourage them to do that. That's something that I would personally like to see. But again, the biggest thing we need to do is make sure students are aware of the issues, how it's going to affect them, and what they feel are the biggest things. The other thing I'd like to talk about are the express routes. I've heard a lot of people complaining that the express routes don't run long enough, and if we can show the need for express routes to run longer, later into the night, that is something that we definitely need to look at, as well as maybe better routes, or more service on the weekends, especially during big events, so students aren't being left waiting for hours at the bus stop. Thanks very much, guys.